Hi, I'm James McGuire, and today we're focusing on enterprise data storage. We'll look at best practices and we'll talk about the future of enterprise storage, particularly how artificial intelligence will shape data storage in the years ahead. To discuss all those big ideas, I'm joined by Jonathan Martin, the president of Weka. Jonathan, you have made it to Friday. Congratulations.
Hey, thanks, James. It is good to be here, and it is good to be on a Friday for sure.
How was this week for you? Was it a tough one, or did you just kind of glide through it all this week?
It is. There is a lot going on here, so yeah, super busy. This is actually only week 4 on the job for me, so
Oh,
I've got it
okay.
all figured out, as you can imagine. And yeah, so lot going on. But we've been in the office this week, a lot of us, so that's been a very refreshing change.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's take a look at where we are now. I mean, if you look at today's typical data storage infrastructure,
Yeah.
what sort of problems do you typically see? And I'm sure there are many. There's silos, there's fragmented data. I mean, what do you see as the pain points in data storage for most companies these days?
Totally. So I think, if you take a step back, right? There's
Mhm.
a lot changing in terms of the types of workloads that organizations are trying to chase.
Right.
Things like IoT, things like 5G, things like AI are
Right.
driving massive growth in data. And this is not the traditional, hey, like our data doubles every 18 months or so, as we've been used to in the data center. When we're getting into these type of workloads, that they're going up by an order of magnitude a year. So
Wow. Okay.
massive growth.
Yeah.
Obviously, this data is also, it's not just created in your data center. It's created out of the edge. It's
Right.
created in the cloud, and it's created on-prem. And obviously, a lot of businesses today who are trying to transform themselves, trying to digitalize themselves, have got to be able to transform all this data that's being created into value.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, a lot of the current architectures, and if you think back the last 25, 30, maybe even 40 years,
Yeah.
um, storage has been a land of kind of incremental change.
Right.
It's yes, maybe you're now using a flash drive instead of a spinning disk, or you're using fast Ethernet instead of something else. But it's really, the mold for the market was set kind of back in the 1980s, where
I
it
mean,
was
yeah,
like,
it's true. Like data storage is so important, but data storage has never been sexy. Like, social networking is sexy, or like, other thing, cloud, like, wow, which data is related to that? It is, but I mean, data storage has been always sort of quiet, but actually super important.
super important, right? Even today, 20% of IT spend in the data center goes on storage, right? It's a
Right.
big chunk. But it's all been kind of iterative, really. It's, somebody dreamed up that 40 years ago, if you wanted to run a fast workload, a performance workload, you put it on block. If you wanted to run a scalable workload, then you put it on object.
Uh-huh.
And you wanted to have something that was easy to manage, then you'd do it with file, because of the shareability and directory structures and that sort. And that
Hmm.
model, that mold, has really defined the industry for the last 40 years. Codes are starting to appear. Their characteristics. They need. We've already talked about the growth that we're seeing in these workloads.
Hmm.
That people are looking at 10x data growth. So scale is super important.
Hmm.
And we're not talking anymore about terabyte workloads. We're talking about not even about exabyte. We're not even like, we're getting to kind of petabyte workloads, and people even. Secondly,
Yes.
that they people want speed. There's a tremendous amount of
So
data.
it's more important than ever before, definitely.
It's like the faster the simple equation is, the faster you can process all this data, the faster it can provide competitive advantage, and the faster it can provide competitive advantage, the faster you
Right.
can bring new products to market. So,
Sure.
and so these traditional architectures aren't really adapted very well to these new workloads, because they're kind of too small. The containers that they hold are too small. They're too slow,
Right.
and they're way too complicated.
Hmm.
And so a lot of organizations today, I think, are looking for a new approach, as they're taking these been doing the last 5 years, and are trying to scale them up to an enterprise AI initiative.
Right, right. Interesting. So where in that is, so the biggest problem you see is trying to scale up early architecture. Is that if you boil it all down, that's really
Yeah,
the biggest problem?
boil it
Yeah.
down. It's like new class of workloads beginning to appear,
Mhm.
exascale loads or AI workloads.
Right.
And some of them running in your data center, some of them running in your cloud. They just have very different infrastructure requirements.
Mhm.
And what we've done for the last 4 years to where we need to go in the future.
Gotcha. You know, it's interesting. I saw there was a survey that Weka did about the state of actually artificial intelligence and analytics infrastructure.
Yeah.
I always love a good survey because it kind of shows me where things are. I mean, what are a few of the key findings from the survey?
Yeah, so I think, first one is like it's real, right? We've been AI washing everything for a long time, but
Right.
in the 600 or so organizations that we surveyed, 86% of them said they have at least one AI initiative going on. The majority have 2 to 3, and there's some even up to kind of 5. So I think the first takeaway is that AI is very real,
Mhm.
and organizations are getting value from it already. The second thing that kind of came out of the survey is in terms of their inhibitors to success, there's really kind of three things.
Uh-huh.
One is just access to resources. Data scientists going to Google at the moment in Silicon Valley with $1 million signing bonus.
Right.
So it's hard to get the talent.
Totally. I've heard that a lot. Yep.
They typically have not been thinking about maybe budget and the new budget items, but then the final one is the infrastructure, and as they move from a kind of kitchen sink science project AI project to an enterprise AI project, do they have the right infrastructure? And then the final one, which is kind of interesting, is that the majority of them are looking at deploying their first production AI workloads in the cloud.
Okay.
Which is maybe not surprising, but also I think comes with its own set of challenges.
You know, I think we should take a moment to drill down into Weka a little bit in terms of what is Weka's value proposition in terms of, oh, there's a company, Acme Widget Company based in Dubuque, Iowa, and they've got a cloud deployment with Amazon Web Services. They're
Yeah.
doing data storage with Amazon Web Services. Maybe they're using that Glacier slow tier and another faster tier. So how would Weka fit into that kind of a scenario?
Yeah. So Weka is we've been going about seven years now. We're an Israeli deep tech company. We're headquartered out of Campbell in Silicon Valley,
Okay.
and we have I think a very different approach. So we are really looking to replace decades of kind of these compromises that you have to make in storage hardware around, do I want speed, or do I want scale, or do I want simplicity, with a modern subscription based will deliver kind of 10x in.
Or you're breaking up a little bit. A modern subscription based delivering what now? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so modern subscription based data platform delivering a 10x multiplier in performance and a 10x multiplier in scale. So really focused at today's cloud and AI workloads.
So really, it's software defined storage.
It's software, kind of software defined is, I think left a pretty bad taste in people's mouth. So it's software, and you can run that same software in Amazon Web Services. So we develop on AWS, and we port from AWS into your data center, so onto the platforms that you might use there. And so so if you want to pick up a workload and move it to Amazon, we'll give you a highly performant platform on which to run those AI workloads in Amazon. Equally, if you want to run it in your data center, you can just Amazon and remount in your data center, and off you go.
So really, it's a bridge between the on-prem world and the remote cloud world, and it facilitates faster movement back and forth, faster access, and I guess better data analytics between those two worlds.
Yeah, and just I think the world today, it is a combination of core data centers multiple clouds and increasingly an expansion of use of the edge. And you need to be able to move data seamlessly between those environments. If you're trying to do that with hardware, it's very, very difficult. But if you have a model that is based on software, then it's actually very, very easy.
Interesting. Okay. Well, then let's look ahead, because I think you sounds like Weka is very involved with where we're going in the future. I mean, what do you see as the future of data storage over the next few years, and what role will artificial intelligence play? That's the big question.
Yeah. So I think, future data storage, I think, is one that's going to require a massive simplification in the way that the infrastructure is deployed. When we're starting to talk about, tens and hundreds of petabytes under a single workload, when we're talking about, maybe exascale workloads beginning to appear in the next couple of years,
right?
Trying to do that with a combination of file, block, and object type technologies is remarkably complex. So I think what you're going to see happen to the database world, which is one of those other areas in IT that also has been pretty dull. Old TP database, not much happened there, and then Snowflake came along and kind of redefined the space. And I think you're going to see a massive redefinition of the storage space over the next few years to a model which is cloud native, is based on software. It is delivers 10x performance, exabyte scale. Comes with a rich set of data services. It's easy to deploy and manage, and supports all the modern protocols that are used to store and access data.
It's interesting you would bring up Snowflake. I mean, all roads lead to Snowflake, I think, sometimes. I mean, is there any way that Weka interfaces with Snowflake, or not really? You're in different domains.
So we provide infrastructure on which to run all these things. And again, like all modern workloads, we provide a platform on which you can run all of those workloads.
Interesting. Jonathan, it's going to be interesting to watch the way it changes over the years. I greatly appreciate you sharing your expertise with us today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great to be with you, James. Thanks to everyone. Appreciate it.